Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly shop talk on movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us. Today is November the 7th, 2023. It is episode 408, and we're great. And it's great to see you listening to the Media Boat Podcast.
Yep, coming right to both your eyeballs on YouTube and your ears on your podcasting feeds. So let's get right into this episode then, shall we? And we always start with the music section. We start the music section with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And guess what? It's not a cruel summer anymore.
No.
But it is still a Taylor summer, or Taylor fall, actually, as she is 4 out of the top 5 songs. So let's crank them out one by one. First up, Is It Over Now? Taylor's version is your number 1 song.
Yep.
Followed by at 2, Now That We Don't Talk, Taylor's version. At 3, Slut, Taylor's version. And then at 5, Say Don't Go, Taylor's version. All Taylor Swift. The only odd one out there is coming in at number 4, Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat.
Yes, dominating week again for Taylor. Didn't quite get that all total top 5 like Midnight's did, but almost. It was very, very close.
Almost. And all of this is because in the Billboard 200, your albums chart, 1989, Taylor's version was released by Taylor Swift.
You don't say.
But she does not control all top 5 of the album slots. No. At 2, 17th Heaven, 11th mini album, EP by 17. This is the K-pop band, right? 17?
Yes, they are a K-pop group.
At 3, we have For All the Dogs by Drake. Coming in at 4, Nadie Sabe Lo Que Va a Pasar Mañana by Bad Bunny. And running at your top 5, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen.
It's true.
If you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases, starting with Hadsel by Beirut, Higher by Chris Stapleton, or is that Higher?
Something like that.
That's something where he drags on the higher. Wait, no, I gotta get more twang of that. Higher.
There you go. Much better.
We also have Heaven Knows by Pink Pantheress. And lastly, Cold War Kids. Yes, those Cold War Kids with Cold War Kids by Cold War Kids.
Yes.
Yes.
A self-titled album.
Yes, after all these years, self-titled album. All right, as we mentioned, Taylor Swift was both the number 1 song and the number 1 album. But wait, there are more Taylor records. As Taylor Swift's 1989, Taylor's version, has now gone down on the books as giving the singer her best first week tally for an album ever. The release tops the Billboard 200 with 1.65 million equivalent album units. That puts it ahead of her previous personal best, which, as you mentioned, was Midnight's with 1.57 million units, which was released just over a year ago in October. Needless to say, among the Swift albums, this one performed better in its first week than in its original 1989, the Big Machine Records version, which bowed 9 years ago with a then astonishing 1.29 million units. Billboard reports that this is officially the biggest first week for any album since 2015's Adele's album 25, which debuted to 3.48 million album units. It's also the 6th largest week for an album since Luminate's predecessor, SoundScan, began providing immediate weekly data all the way back to 1991.
So I was kind of surprised by to learn in this music story that they changed the name of SoundScan.
Yes, to
I just
Illuminate.
learned that. Fun
But
fact.
still, Adele holding that record with 3.48 million units.
Yeah, that's a huge total. And it's going to take a lot to reach that. But as it pertains to Taylor, I guess the question is now, is this the biggest this project goes? Do you think that her re-record of her debut record or Reputation can outdo 1989's numbers here?
I'm gonna say no, just
Yeah.
because when 1989 came out, it was a huge pop hit. It's what put her into that pop chart, that's that firm pop window. And here it's just re-recordings of that. I don't think you're gonna get the same thing with Reputation, which followed after it, and then especially with the debut album, which by this time when it comes out, it's gonna be 15 years later, probably.
Almost, if not 16. Yeah, it's
Ha.
interesting to think about. Like, I think we got the most the last of the super big number one hits that she needed to re-record. I believe there are a couple of number ones from Reputation. I want to say Ready for It was a number one. That being said, I don't think it was as big of an album, and I think overall, I think you are going to see slightly diminishing returns. Now, here's the extra question, since this will probably maybe question mark be the last story about this for a little bit that we cover here. What do you think is next? Do you think she does debut Reputation, or do you think she does Reputation debut?
I think she does next album. No, scratch that. She doesn't do next album. Next thing that she puts out is going to be the Eras Tour live album.
Okay.
Taylor's version.
Uh-huh.
No. The Eras Tour. And then 6 months later, Eras Tour Taylor's version. And then Reputation. Then gibberish. A new album. Then Evermore Taylor's version. And then a debut. Taylor's version.
I guess. I mean, any combination of these things could happen. I don't know if you're right about the Eras Tour stuff. She specifically, I know she's on the record that she's holding off on any streaming release of it until the SAG-AFTRA strike is over. Oh, no, it has nothing to do with the tour length. No, she's holding off. I read an article where apparently her team says that they will not negotiate with any of the streaming networks until the SAG-AFTRA strike ends. She's on purpose holding it above them until they make good with the actors, which I think is hilarious. So that's the reason why that hasn't been. So I wonder if there's going to be something similar with a like streaming, audio streaming, or like CD release or vinyl release. I wonder if she's waiting for all of that to come out at once. As for release schedule beside that, I don't know. Like, my first thought was, well, she tends to do a big one and a small one, or sorry, a small one and then a big one. That's what she did in 2023, right? She did the Speak Now re-release and then the 1989 re-release, summer, fall, respectively. I wonder if there's going to be something like that here. If it was me, I would say debut Reputation and then new album in the next calendar year, 2025. That's what I would do.
Is that just because Reputation's more pop, so it would lead into new pop album?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's a better segue. I think it would be hard to segue off a debut into anything. So I think debut is going to be a weird one to see her do. I mean, I think it's going to be, I really wonder what she's going to do with that record, and what the vault tracks will sound like, question mark. Who knows? But
maybe she'll have her own driver's license talk about a topic in it.
Yeah. Her own song about parallel parking.
Yes.
Anyways, let's move on. Why don't we?
Let's move on into where Taylor will eventually end up, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, Rage Against the Machine was there.
A half of
Half of them. The group's explosive influence was vividly detailed in an electrifying tribute video in Ice-T's introductory speech. Quote, "I think Rage has the greatest rock lyric of all time." Like, let's see if I can get this right.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I don't do what you tell me.
Close.
Yeah. And guitarist Tom Morello's acceptance speech. Uh, always an inspired speaker, he noted that the often feuded band members, Tom Morello, and singer Zach De La Rocha, have, quote, differing perspectives on a lot of things, including being included. And
Inducted.
Inducted. But paid tribute not only to them, but also the fifth member of the band, the group's fans, and noted that the president of Chile and Finland, quote, have all spent time in our mosh pits, end quote. Zach De La Roche was later seen attending a pro-Palestine rally in Washington, D.C. Once again, raging.
Yeah, so the story here is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony happened. If you want to see all 4 hours of it, it's on Disney Plus. We chose not to watch all of it, so we don't have full thoughts about it here. But what I will say is that the reason why I focused on this bit was, to me, it was the most interesting bit of all of it. I think the other big story was that Kate Bush, who was inducted, chose not to appear. So that's another little tidbit from the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it goes to show you that that even in 2023, when they're being honored for their legacy, you have a member of them still actively engaging in political disruption and acting on what they believe, and that's pretty cool to see on an institution that's that old and that's been doing it for this long, that they can still be an inspiration like that and still raging against that machine, which is literally why they're named that.
Well, don't tell the Republicans which machine they are raging against.
Yeah, I think they're a little confused about that part for sure. Yeah, so there's not really much of a story here. I just want to mention it. But yeah, I don't know if I am gonna bear through. Maybe that's what I do tonight. Maybe I just pop open one of the Green Chic beer IPAs that I got this week and just watch all 4 hours of this. Maybe I'll do that tonight.
I mean, so Willie Nelson inducted this time as well?
Was he? I think he was already in. I thought he was already in there, but I could be wrong. There's a long list, and I kind of just skimmed through the article of everything that happened. It seemed like a lot.
Let's see here. 2023 inductees: Kate Bush, Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, George Michael, Willie Nelson. Yeah, and Rage Against the Machine.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, because I tried to turn it on just to watch the Willie part.
Yeah.
Didn't work. And then the Spinners, DJ Cool Herc, Link Ray, Shaka Khan, who I think, this was last time. Shaka Khan, Al Cooper, Bernie Taupin, and Don Cornelius.
So
Your
lots.
Current inductees.
So a lot happened. Tune in to Disney Plus or Hulu to watch all of that. It's on Hulu as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was live streamed on Disney Plus, but available on Hulu the next day.
There you go. So check it out if you have a chance. In the meantime, let's move on. You have thoughts?
Yeah. Last week, we talked about the posthumous album for Jimmy Buffett, Equal Strain on All Parts.
It doesn't quite fit on the Chiron here, but you get the idea.
Yeah. You can't just put Mr. Buffett. Wait, no, that's someone else.
That's his father.
No, that's a Warren. So Jimmy Buffett, famous for island music, famous for drinking and relaxing and overall being what 70 and having a relaxing good time.
Yeah, chilling out with some sort of drink with an umbrella in it,
Mhm.
preferably maybe on a beach.
Yeah. You're talking about margaritas, and the
Doesn't have to
village
be
have parts of
margarita.
it.
It could be like a Mai Tai. I don't know. Some sort of
So
island beverage.
yep. So here he is with the his posthumous album, Equal Strain on All Parts, and it is exactly what you think it is. Being into his elderly age does not miss a beat here. Drinking, relaxing. There's a song called "My Wheat" or "My Gummy Just Kicked In." So not saying that we know what he's doing, but hey, we know what where his thoughts now lie.
or did past
Did
tense.
yes. Uh, Overall, it's a island music. It's an island vibe. It's I'm trying to like put this in good light, but when you open with a song saying that you went and partied in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, it's like okay, I know where this is going. One, you're like 60, you're a 60-year-old man, 70-year-old man singing about partying in New Orleans. I'm not sure how many people are actually living that lifestyle that you're projecting in their age. Although I can't really say that because I know some people
Yeah, I was
of
gonna
that
say.
age who specifically would indeed be doing that.
I mean, I can say firsthand, having visited one of his Margaritaville branded communities in Florida, where a bunch of seniors over age 65 live and party and drink and do all these things, I can tell you there is a demographic that does engage in this behavior at that age. It's 100% a real thing. And Jimmy was preaching to them like 100%. And will do forever, even beyond the grave. And yeah, so what I'm getting from this is that this is just a Jimmy Buffett record.
Yeah. I mean, the song is called University of Bourbon Street. So, um,
Sure, sure.
one of the more somber songs that I really liked on this album was called Bubbles Up. It's like when your time's up, bubbles up. I was like,
Oh,
ah, hit you right in the field. It's one of those like cool, like wash over yourself vibey songs that just hits at the right tone. But then later in the album, you have songs like My Dog and Fish Porn. So combine that with like I said, the My Gummies Just Kicked In and the title track itself, Equal Strain on All Parts.
mm-hmm.
You get a little bit of mix of both of just he does not take any of this seriously. I mean, he probably never took music seriously, but especially like lyric wise, it's just a party and a half on all albums.
I mean, I think his party songs were well written. I think he does a good job of making you feel like you're there. I think that he's very descriptive, a good storyteller. But at the same time, yeah, you're right. He didn't take himself seriously, which is, I think, the thing. There's always a sense
Mm-hmm.
of humor. There's always a sense of lightness to it, and I think that's what drew people to his music. Is that a relatable, fun time was going to happen if you put on one of his songs.
Yeah, I
So,
mean that's what you get with this album. So it's a very Jimmy Buffett album, and if he's gonna go out, he's gonna go out the way he did, and just island songs and
mhm.
having a blast of a time.
Yeah, seems like a fitting goodbye, which is nice to see.
Yep.
Cool. All righty.
All right.
Listen, anything else?
I did not because we talked about 1989 Taylor's version
Right.
last week.
Yep, it was just week 2 of Taylor for me as well. So we can safely, I believe, move on
Yep.
into our next section here.
And we go right into video games. We
Indeed.
start with new releases, including Stronghold Definitive Edition for the PC, Tales of Arise, Beyond the Dawn for everything but the Switch. We also have Super Double Dragon for everything but the PS5.
Hey, do you like Double Dragon? Because there's a lot of Double Dragon this week.
We also have Double Dragon Collection for the Switch, Double Dragon Advance for everything but the PS5.
And but the Game Boy Advance.
Hmm?
Nothing. I was making a joke about the Game Boy Advance
Oh,
not being included when the game is called Double Dragon Advance.
Advance, yes.
Never mind.
But then there's also Like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name. That is available for everything but the Switch.
So that, just to let people know, that is, as the Gaiden name implies, a side story, shorter format game in the Yakuza universe, or the Like a Dragon universe, as it's now known.
Mm-hmm. But we also have Dungeons 4 for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Cuisiner for the PC.
Or
Berserk.
Cuisinier?
Cuisiner. We also have a Berserk, Recharged for everything. You got it. You can play it. And lastly, Spirit T for the PC, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch.
Missed one.
No, I didn't, because this is early access.
No, it's not. That was on the 3rd.
That was on the 3rd. You're right, that was on the 3rd. Well, if you have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, then you'll be able to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which comes out this week on the PC, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, your boyfriend's house, your husband's house, your teenager's house.
I mean, to be clear, you don't have to have Modern Warfare 2. This is a separate product that they are putting on store shelves in the whole 9 yards. So yes, Modern Warfare 3 is out this week in timing for Veterans Day on Friday. So there you go.
Yes, but if you didn't understand 2, how are you going to understand 3? You got to start all the way back at 1.
Soap. What's the other guy's name? I don't remember. Ghost. I don't know. They're all here.
Ghost and Soap and Sarge.
Sarge. There's probably a guy named Sarge. I don't know. I haven't played
guy's named Captain.
I don't think I've played a Call of Duty games campaign since Modern Warfare 3 2009. So it's been a while. I have no idea what's going on in this game.
Supposedly, there's also a continuation of the zombie virus that was introduced in Black Ops 2.
Yeah, zombie mode a part of back here. So
they're trying to treat this like a culmination, but also it's a retread of a game that came out already.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly a retread. From what I understand, the campaign is new, and some of the maps are new, but it does have a lot of maps from both the original Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2. So yeah, a lot of stuff, classic nostalgia for Modern Warfare fans.
Well, if you like shooters and you like classic nostalgia,
do
I have a story for you. And guess what? You don't have to go that far back to enjoy this shooter, because Fortnite enjoyed its biggest 24-hour period in history over this past weekend, thanks to Fortnite OG event. I do that. That's not a Taylor's version. According to a X tweet posted on the game's official Twitter X account, the game saw record player counts on Saturday, November 4th. Quote, "Way to start things off with a big bang. We're blown away by the response to Fortnite OG. Yesterday was the biggest day in Fortnite's history, with over 44.7 million players jumping in and 102 million hours of play. To all Fortnite players, OG and new, thank you." According to a third-party tracker for Fortnite, GG. Fortnite GG?
I believe the name of the Fortnite tracker is Fortnite.gg.
Weird. So Fortnite tracker, Fortnite.gg, The game hit its all-time peak of concurrent players during this period, with a peak of 600. Wait, no, 6,000. Nope,
Oh,
sorry, extra comma there. 6.1 million people playing the game at the same time at one point. So
yep.
congratulations to Fortnite OG. You've done exactly, you followed directly into the same steps of World of Warcraft when they rolled out its classic version. And then also, as we mentioned, with Call of Duty, when they rolled out their Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2020 version, 2019 version.
Oh yeah, I forget when that happened. But it's interesting because it goes to show you how much people have nostalgia, quote unquote, for something that's not even that old.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's 5, 6 years old. And people really love that original map and they were excited to see it. So they came in record numbers. Second note about this is that what was I gonna say? I had it and then it leapt right out of me. But so it's interesting to see a game like this try to recapture some of that magic. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, apparently it was so popular that there were queues, and there are never queues for Fortnite. You can usually just hop into a game right away. There were queues on apparently the day that this season started because of so many people being excited to play the old map again.
So they are Activision Blizzard.
No, different company altogether. By the way, it occurred to me today that I don't know if we actually reported on the show that the Activision buyout actually did get closed and happened.
We did. Oh no,
Did
we
we?
talked about it when it passed the European market.
So in case you're listening to the show and you're wondering like why did they never talk about that? Sorry, my bad. Other news happened, and I guess we
We
reported
have
on that.
talked about it. We talked about it to death when it was jumping through hoops
Right.
and everything.
But I just wanted to do my due diligence and mention yes, it closed. Apparently, Phil Spencer showed up at BlizzCon this last week
Mm-hmm.
to say some stuff to the crowd there and be like, yes, I'm here. That happened, but that has nothing to do with Fortnite. But
No.
I
Oh,
mentioned,
speaking of BlizzCon, real briefly, I know we're
yeah.
not really in thoughts, but I did play that Warcraft Rumble game because it came out this week because of BlizzCon.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Uh I played it because I thought it was going to be another like MOBA PvP
Yeah, is it not
because it
that?
had Rumble in the name.
Yeah,
Nope, nope.
no.
It's a I mean it's set up like that, but it's more of a tower defense
Hmm.
where you're setting out your guys on certain paths and they're destroying or capturing towers in the wake.
Hmm.
So not what I thought. Also, a lot of the characters, I have no idea what I'm peering into because it's World of Warcraft.
Fair.
So I'm trying to be like, oh, like there's the faction symbol. These guys all belong in the same team. Then they should all work together. And I'm like, why is this not working? Why is this not working? Why is this not working? So it feels like it's for a specific type of people
Sure.
who really like World of Warcraft and want to play like a mobile version of it, but not like a true mobile version of it. So
Seems niche.
it is very niche. That's why I'm like not really including it to thoughts, but it's a mobile game.
Yeah.
But what
Fair.
we are including is the second story of video games.
Yes, this broke today. This is breaking news as of a couple hours ago.
Yes, and it's going to go right into our thoughts because this is our Nintendo block.
Yes.
So, in case we are the first you're hearing for this, one, thank you. This deeply, deeply appreciate this. But also, two, earth-shattering news.
Yeah.
World-shattering news, I guess.
Shield
Twilight.
shattering news.
Shields Hyrulean shattering news.
Yes.
So, as Nintendo has announced that it will develop a live action film of The Legend of Zelda. The film will be produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, representative director and fellow of Nintendo and veteran Hollywood producer Avi Arad
Mm-hmm.
of the Spider-Man films,
Yep.
who is the former chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment, specifically the Sony version and Spider-Man.
Yes. Pre MCU.
Yes. Um, The film will be produced by Nintendo and Arad Productions and directed by Wes Ball, who was the director behind the Maze Runner trilogy and next year's and recently dropped trailer of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
The film will be co-financed by Nintendo and Sony Pictures Entertainment, with more than 50% of the financing coming from Nintendo. Quote, by producing visual contents of Nintendo IP by itself, Nintendo is creating new opportunities to have people from around the world to access the world of entertainment which Nintendo has built through different means apart from its dedicated game consoles. End quote, the company said.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening. Now, this means live action film, not animated Super Mario Brothers Illumination film.
Yes.
This is live action Sony video game adaptation. Most recently, the one that they did was, I believe, Monster Hunter. Was it? Wait, was that Legendary?
That was Legendary.
Okay. But this is still Sony's. Oh, Sony's recent video game adaptation was the Gran Turismo film.
Yes. Don't forget Uncharted.
How could you forget Uncharted? Because most people do.
Yeah. But yes, so yeah, it's interesting that we're getting all this news now. Of course, just like the Mario movie was announced way ahead of time. Don't expect this movie anytime soon. Probably 2-3 years down the pipe here for production, especially when there's still a strike on and nobody can act in it. A couple of other notes about this. So yeah, a lot of people are complaining about Avi Arad being associated with this. He hasn't had the most stellar record since the Marvel days. He put out that Uncharted movie with Sony, though. So there's something to be said about that. At least that came out. But he's also been attached to a lot of other video game adaptations that just disappeared and never happened, like the Metal Gear Solid film. So that's one note there. It's like, don't get, too much hopes up just in case. Second, though, this is going to be Nintendo's first film of this type through their new Nintendo Pictures label. So it's being distributed by Sony, but the reason why they're over 50% financing this thing is because they are now a producer. They are now a production company. Like, they are doing this movie. This is their movie, like, straight up.
And they're making sure that it's over 50% being financed by Nintendo. So Sony can't say, it's our money, you're going to do what we say.
This is not a Spider-Man situation.
Yes.
And Nintendo was aware of that kind of deal and did not want that kind of deal. The fact that Sony has agreed to this at all is surprising, but I guess they probably saw what Universal's success was with the Super Mario Brothers movie and said, why don't we just take the risk? Let them have creative control of this thing.
Right. And I'm not sure why they went with Avi Arad instead of Amy Pascal, who is more of the driving force behind the Spider-Man stuff.
I think it's the Uncharted movie. I think that is probably their template for this, combined with, modern fantasy film, like a Lord of the Rings is not even modern anymore. So, I can't use that as an example, but yeah.
So does this mean that Tom Holland is Zelda and Zendaya is Link?
No. So yeah, that's the other half of this conversation, which what does a live action Legend of Zelda film even look like? Does Link talk? Does he have a personality? Does he have what do you do with the Legend of Zelda?
Is it Timothée Chalamet?
Is it about Zelda? That's an interesting angle. Like, is it about the kingdom? Do you make Zelda the protagonist and so that way you don't have to deal with the question about Link? Or do you have to have Link because that's what people expect from the franchise? There's a lot of questions.
I say you do a storybook mode where it is Zelda being trapped, telling the story of the hero who leapt through time to save her. And that way, whatever happens, you can frame it as, oh, that's just Zelda telling the story, not understanding what actually happened.
Sure. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch.
But
Okay,
it's a framing
now,
device to get it outside of a traditional, like, actual Zelda film.
okay, now the fun part. Now let's cast it. All right, Cat. We need a Link and a Zelda.
Well, Jason Momoa is Ganondorf.
That's good. That's really good. I like that. Okay.
But yeah, outside of your Timothy Chalamet and your Tom Holland, who do you get to play your Zelda, Lee?
So, assuming this is a 2026, 2027 Victor.
That's right. Yeah, you get someone fresh.
Yeah.
All right. What's going on with anybody? I hate to say this, from Gen V,
Sure. Maybe somewhere in
maybe.
there.
Because you gotta get someone young, but not too young, because you want them to play essentially Link and Zelda for years to come. What are you thinking?
I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. I think you just go full, just a story about Zelda. I don't think you need Link.
Anya Taylor-Joy. Wait, no, she's
Mm,
already Peach.
no, yeah, she's already in the universe. I thought Saoirse Ronan for a second, but then I'm like, well, they might want somebody slightly younger by then.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of who that would be. What's Kiernan Shipka doing? Anyway, all right, let's move on. We can't do this forever, but much as we'd love to, we can't cast this
Hey,
Zelda
like,
movie.
like you said, they got to find someone who will be their characters in 2 years when it's
Mhm.
released, and then for an additional 6 years, supposedly, because franchising.
Yeah, because thanks.
All right.
Anyway, that will be in the future. Of course, we'll report if more details come out about it. But for now, it is just a, no pun intended, pipe dream, and we'll see what happens.
Well, let's go down the pipe dream and pop out in some thoughts.
Yes. Speaking of Nintendo, I played a couple of new Nintendo Switch releases. Both of these games came out on the 3rd last week. One of them I played a lot more of than the other, and you'll be surprised to hear my answer
Will
about
I?
which one was which.
Will I be
Maybe
surprised?
you won't, but maybe the populace, the people of the world will be surprised. So I picked up both WarioWare Move It, the new WarioWare game for the Switch, and Fashion Dreamer, a fashion game made by the team at Marvelous, who used to make the Style Savvy series for the DS and 3DS. I have played a grand total of 45 minutes of WarioWare.
Mm-hmm. That's because they're short games.
And going on maybe, I don't know, an obnoxious amount of Fashion Dreamer, like maybe 10 hours plus.
Okay, so did you beat Fashion Dreamer? Is
No,
there a beating of Fashion Dreamer?
no. All right, I'm going to talk about WarioWare first real quick because I just want to establish why I haven't played a whole lot of it. No disparagement against WarioWare. It seems like a very well-made WarioWare game. It has a lot of fun poses. It's got a lot of very cool animated cutscenes that are a lot of fun and have that WarioWare spirit and sense of humor to them. It's a blast, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool, fun stuff that you're doing in that game. Little note, though, from what I understand from other people's experiences with it, the solo experience is very shallow. You're going to finish most of the solo content in about an hour or so, and there's not a whole lot of replayability because there's only 300 mini games in the game. So just know going in, if you want this to be a solo experience that you're going to spend a lot of time with, you might be disappointed in this game. Also, but if you have friends, the multiplayer stuff, and there's a lot of multiplayer stuff, seems to be the ticket to admission here. Some multiplayer will require you to have a second set of Joy-Cons. Of course, the Switch itself only comes with one, so you may have to be in a situation where you have another set for a second player to play with. Just a heads up there. The second thing that I think that people need to know if they're going to buy this game, because I did not know and it screwed me over. It's the reason why I haven't played more than 45 minutes of this game. Some of the poses for the motion controls require you to have the snap-on wrist straps for the Joy-Cons that come with the original Switch package. These are the plastic covers that slide on and have a tether that you connect to your wrist. The reason why they're required is because some of the poses in some of the mini games require you to hold your Joy-Cons like this, for people on the audio, in front of you in your fists, and then drop them as if you're dropping them, but have them dangle and not obviously fall on the floor and break. It requires you to do this. I think this is the game telling you that you have, giving you a reason to have those wrist straps on, because otherwise you would just raw dog them, and they don't want you to raw dog them because then you're going to toss them in your TV 2006 Wii style. So unfortunately, I can only find one of them. I don't know where the other one is, so I can't play those mini games now. Like, I can drop them fully on the ground, but I have hardwood floors. I don't really want to do that. So I'm kind of at an impasse with this game right now, where I'm like, I want to play more of it and I want to see all the poses and have fun with Wario Ware, but I physically cannot because I cannot find the other wrist strap. So
isn't there a setting that you can turn it off though?
Not that I can find. It seems like because it's so a bulk of the mini games for 2 of the levels in the story mode, I just can't finish those story modes, which means I can't finish the story, which means I can't unlock stuff that unlocks. So that's why I stopped. I hit a wall where I was like, I cannot do this minigame. Another little bit of frustration I had in this brief time that I was, the motion controls, and don't like the, and I know your mind is going to be blown when I say this, if anybody's been paying attention to video games since 2006. Sometimes the motion controls don't work, and that means you do fail the minigame. There was one in particular that's a boss battle on one of the story modes. If you're new to WarioWare, most of the WarioWare sets of 10 to 15 minigames end with a boss battle, which is a slightly longer minigame that is more involved. And this level has one where you are flying. You're a guy in a flight suit, and you're holding your arms out with your Joy-Cons like wings, and you're flapping up and down. So fun in theory, right? Well, I'm flying and trying to navigate around this level, and the tracking just completely breaks down, and I lose every time I tried. I have not beat it. I have not finished that minigame because
your wingspan is too big.
My wingspan is too big, I guess. I don't know what it's looking for that I'm not delivering. And so I just rage quit it. I was just like, this is not fun anymore. Like, if it worked every time perfectly, then it wouldn't be an issue and it would be a fun, relaxing time. But that's the catch-22 about motion control games. It has to work every time, or else that frustration is not due to skill. It becomes due to technology restraints. And that's a bad feeling to have with any video game. So we'll see what happens in the next week. If I, I was considering getting another set of Joy-Cons, but that seems like a really silly idea when a new Switch could be announced at any time. So I'm going back and forth in my head about what possibly I'm going to do with this game that I spent, $50 on, that I can't play right now in its full way. I'm at a lack right now. I guess I could see if I could order just new sets of the straps, but it just seems like a ridiculous ask. So I'm like, yeah, I'm frustrated right now with my WarioWare experience. But overall, it's getting pretty mixed reviews. It seems like most people aren't super happy with it either. So that's WarioWare. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not the game that anybody wanted it to be.
That's unfortunate. I mean, you have a game specifically made and tailored to use those Joy-Cons for multiple people, and to just have it completely, I don't want to say completely fail because most of it works, but to just hit brick walls when it doesn't work and not having a workaround seems like a really weird caveat to finish a game.
It's disappointing, especially considering that Wii Sports for Switch, or Switch Sports, or whatever that game was called.
1-2 Switch.
No, the sports one.
Oh,
remember that? That was a game that came out.
Yes,
we both bought it and played it once. That game did not require the wrist straps, and I don't recall having as many motion control issues with that. So it goes to show you that there's a way to do it. This ain't it. Unfortunately, WarioWare is a bit of a disappointment for me. But what's not a disappointment?
Yes, that's unfortunate. But on the other side, the 10-hour game.
But yes, thankfully, though, something else came out that has purely absorbed my time. Caveat. This game will not work for you if, one, you're not interested in fashion design, and two, if you want any sort of challenge. Because Fashion Dreamer does not deliver on either of those counts. It is a very niche product for a very niche audience, and it knows what it is, and it does only one thing, which is gives you a platform to dress avatars, basically, and see other people's dressed avatars and share them across the internet. That is literally the only thing this game does. But if that very concept sounds interesting to you, absolutely, and you have a Switch, absolutely buy this game. That's my review of Fashion Dreamer.
So if you are I don't say wannabe up and comer, if you are interested in fashion of any kind, of designing fashion, clothing, outfits, patterns, does Fashion Dreamer put the dream a reality?
Well, yes and no. I say yes and no, and there's a reason why I didn't say design when I was describing this game, because this is not a fashion design game. Fashion Dreamer follows in the footsteps of the Style Savvy games, but the difference here is instead of a shop owner or employee, you are now an influencer, and your fashion world takes place on social media, essentially. So the complete setup of the Style Savvy games is gone. It's been tossed. So you're no longer maintaining inventory. You're no longer pleasing clients. There's no currency to buy clothes here. It is just, well, sort of, I don't know. It's complicated. It's no longer about a business. It is just your influence, your web clout, your likes. It is the economy of likes in Fashion Dreamer. So the reason why I say it's not a design game is because there is an item creation tool, but the item creation, I'm using giant quotes, is literally just choosing new color palettes for existing items. So the game has a bunch of existing clothing items that it is provided for you. And what the people are doing, you included, are making new color variants of those items. And that is what you're selling as your brand of fashion. So if you're going into this thinking you're going to create patterns or you're going to create completely new garments, if you want sewing simulation, if you want to get really into the nitty gritty of design, that's not here. You're going to be disappointed if you're expecting a fashion sim from this. That's not what this is. The creation is limited just to new color palettes, but there's a lot you can do with color, it turns out. And that is where the challenge, what there is of this game, comes in. There's a lot of depth here. There's a lot of stuff to do. You have a showroom that you can show off your own creations. The online mode is great because you can interact with other people, not in real time. You could basically go up to stand-ins basically of other real people and like their outfits to get their clothes to begin your inventory and create new outfits for them. And that's how fashion spreads throughout the Fashion Dreamer universe. So you could have a thing that you created, post it to the fashion board in the lobby, and then come back to the game a day later and have 100 likes on that item from real people across the world. This happened to me. It's a really cool feeling. And you get 10,000 points, influencer points for every time that happens. So you could have 1 million points just from a lot of people interacting with your stuff. There's also computer characters that you can design for to get extra cool photo benefits or extra items you can use. As you get more and more likes, you rank up your style ranking, and then you can make more complicated clothes. And the more complicated the clothes is, the higher rarity clothes. There'll be certain the more likely it's going to reach the upper echelon of the top 5 trending fashions of that week. it's a really cool game with a lot going on and a lot of kind of, yeah, sort of endless customization options, as long as you're okay with just customizing colors.
Now
So,
you have
yeah.
to be online for all of this to work, though, right? You have to have Nintendo Online.
So for the online stuff to interact with actual other designers' works, yes. There is a solo mode though that does have a lot of the experience without the online stuff. You can still design for computer characters, for example. You can still create your own garments based on in-game garments and create kind of your own ecosystem for that stuff. Just keep cranking them out yourself. But the numbers go higher and the interactions are why you're playing the game ostensibly. So I 100% recommend the online mode be on. In a similar way to Mario Wonder, which I talked about last week, the online mode adds so much of a layer. But just like Mario Wonder, it's a passive experience and not an active experience, which makes it a really interesting use of online. And it goes to show you that even Nintendo can be innovative in the online space, believe it or not, every once in a while. I think it's really cool. I'm playing a lot of it. There's a really engaging photo mode. There's so much stuff you can do to customize your character and everybody else. And it's a blast as long as you know exactly what it is before you go into it. If you're expecting too much of a fashion's design game, you're going to be disappointed. And there is nothing here for people who are not interested in a fashion game, because that is all it does. It does one thing, and that's it. That's it. So buyer beware, be aware of what it is, but it's pretty much made for me, and I'm having a blast with it. This will absolutely be in my top 5. So might be the only person on the earth to do that, but hey, they made it for me, and that's okay.
I mean, it's
They
a
should put
fashion
out
game.
a demo for this thing, because I feel like
Yeah.
people might not know this is their shit, but when they play it, maybe they'll find out, or the opposite. So I don't know. But yeah, without a demo, it's really hard to know.
Right, but you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm having a blast.
Yeah. All right. Uh,
Yeah.
anything
Anyway,
else you played?
just a little bit more Mario Wonder, but besides that, it's just been Fashion Dreamer. So
All
in
right.
that case, unless you played anything, what do you got?
Nope. I mean, like I said, I played that Warcraft Rumble game, which both like is and isn't exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Because part of it is pay to play. So it's not pay to play, pay to win. So eventually you're gonna hit that wall where okay, you're either gonna grind out to level up your characters or you're gonna pay to level them up themselves.
Mm-hmm. That seems like not great,
It
but
is.
who knows? All right. Let's move on to our second half of the show, where we always start with television. And we always start the television section with the sports corner. Point, 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 point. Point to it. Thank you. Thank you for pointing to the sports. We start the sports corner with, of course, the wrap up of the Major League Baseball season, as your World Series has been determined. Your champions are, for the first time in their franchise history, the Texas Rangers, winning over the Arizona Diamondbacks. I thought it was a pretty good series.
Congratulations.
I thought it was a pretty good series. I mean, a little lopsided in favor of Texas, especially the Texas offense once they got rolling.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still a fun time. I think it really showed off the strengths of both teams. We also, you don't have this here, but today we learned who the finalists are for the MVPs for both leagues.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pulling up, by the way.
You're pulling that up right now. I also pulled it up.
Yeah.
So your American League, as promised, includes, of course, Shohei
Shohei
Ohtani
Ohtani.
and 2 Texas Rangers, including Marcus Semien and the other guy. I had it. And then Corey Seager.
Bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Then,
former Dodger.
yes. And then your National League MVP finalists are Ronald Acuna Jr., because, of course, Freddie Freeman, because, of course, and Mookie Betts, because, I don't know. Yeah, because he's Mookie Betts, I guess.
Because he's Mookie Betts, yep.
So what are your picks on both sides there? What do you think?
I mean, it seems like Otani compared to those two, but then again,
Yeah.
they did win a championship, and Otani didn't.
But Otani was still the home run leader in the league, and probably stat wise outdoes both of them. On top of also being a pitcher.
Yes, and a pitcher.
Yes. So I think it's Otani.
I think so too, for his second trophy.
Meanwhile, I think it will be a big surprise if Acuna Jr. is not the National League choice.
Yeah, because he was leading pretty much every other category in the NL.
Yep. So there's that. So we will find out on Monday. What day is that? The 13th?
The 13th, yep.
That will be the voting for the MVP selected. So we will see next week when that happens.
But when one season ends,
the
next season begins the very next day. And thus, free agency is upon us.
So, yes, the other news that came out of today is, as of today, the free agents are free to sign wherever they are. Teams were able to give qualifying offers for the free agents if they so chose. The Angels did make a qualifying offer towards Shohei Ohtani. It was only $20 million, though, and he is likely to decline.
Well, yeah, he's probably going to get more like $50 million per season.
Right.
But the reason they did that is essentially
I was going to get to this. Yes.
If he signs with another team, that means they have to give the Angels draft picks for it now.
Correct. Yes. So it is in
all
the team's
important
best...
and rarely pans out draft picks.
Yes, but hey, what are you gonna do? You're losing Ohtani, you might as well get something from that.
Well, we lost Ohtani's arm, so might as well get something for that.
So yeah, so it's just a matter of time right now to find out where all these free agents, including Shohei Ohtani, end up. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled over the next couple of weeks. Also, eyes peeled on new signings for staff. We had a couple of coaches named today. We had
Joey Votto,
mm-hmm.
The former, we went to the Phillies, right? The former Phillies went to the Phillies.
Former Philly went to...
Or the Reds, one of the red teams.
Another team. But yeah, a lot of moving and shaking staff-wise, coach-wise, manager-wise this week. Speaking of, so we should know, especially about here for Angels purposes, we should know where our new general manager is going to be. We should know who our new hitting and pitching coaches are going to be. I believe there's a full refresh staff-wise for the Angels coming up.
Yeah, but not just the Angels. You're looking at
a lot of other
across
teams.
the league. Astros probably going to do something. Brewers, Padres, with their stacked team on paper, have yet to actually come up with any type of hardware for any of their players.
Yeah. So a lot of question marks will be answered in the coming weeks. So we should know sooner than later. But then, believe it or not,
everyone's just really waiting to see what the Yankees do once they open up the checkbooks and say, hey, come play with us.
Yeah, so just a matter of time to find out.
Yep.
But there's other sports happening, though.
Other championships happening.
Yes. In the world of NASCAR, your favorite, Ross Watermelon Boss Chastain, did win the checkered flag, but fortunately did not win the championship. That would be Ryan Blaney.
Yes, because Ross Watermelon Boss Chastain was not in the Final Four, but he still won the race because they let people who are not in the Final Four race with the Final Four to block them out.
Well, because a 4-car race is boring. That's why.
It kind of is.
That's why.
But hey, Ryan Blaney and Blaney's ladies all celebrated a championship win because unlike leading up to the race where it's done in 3 races for each stage, NASCAR has a winner-take-all championship style race in Phoenix.
Got it.
So congratulations to the doctor. Your driver won the championship this year.
Congrats. Next up, we have the National Basketball Association. So all NBA teams right now have at least won one and lost one. So there are no undefeated or the opposite of undefeated teams left in the league.
Winless.
Winless. That's the word. So yeah, pretty competitive season already.
Yep, they are doing their in-season tournament where
Correct.
whoever wins will get an automatic bid to the playoffs. Just part of like being good at the beginning of the season, and then you may stumble at the end, but hey,
Yeah.
at least you already got that secured.
It's a neat idea. This is the first time that they're attempting this, I believe.
They did it last year to varying
Okay.
degree.
All right. So we will see.
Mhm.
Next up, hockey. The San Jose Sharks still have not won a game, but everybody else is on a different page. So yes, the hockey season continues. I want to note this weird streak that the Anaheim Ducks are on.
I do not want to note that.
They've won 6 games in a row
Yes,
somehow.
yes, I would not like to note that.
Yes. Meanwhile, your Kings a slightly less stellar record,
Yes,
but still doing okay.
still fighting the good fight. It's early.
Yeah. And then lastly, here you have news about the ICC Cricket World Cup, where India remains undefeated.
Yep, because they only play once a week. I talked about that this started towards the beginning of football season when it started. And yeah, India, through 8 games, the last team to be, or last country to be undefeated in the World Cup. So congratulations. You still have 4 more games before you get into playoffs.
There you go. Any other sports news that we need to address before we move on?
In NFL news, this upcoming week is the last weekend where they will be doing an overseas game. The Colts will be taking on the Patriots in Germany for the final overseas game, meaning after that, everyone plays within the US after that. And the Eagles still only 1 loss. So screw you guys, I guess.
So look forward to that team.
Yes. Yes, the brotherly shove can go shove it.
I recently learned about the brotherly shove and I thought it was hilarious. But yes, anyway, let's move on. Do you think they should ban it? I just want to get your 2 cents about that.
They need to make it even. Well, okay, so yes and no, because other teams have done this to varying degrees of success. But the reason why it probably should be banned is because as a defender on the defense, you cannot push your player into the offensive line, whereas the offense can push their offensive line into the defensive player, thus the shove part. So it's hard for a defensive player to be able to push back against essentially 1,000 pounds coming up against them.
Well, that's their problem. It sounds like to me that this is a skill issue.
Yes, it does sound to me like it is a defensive problem.
Anyways, they'll figure it out. Let's move on. We have some proper television news to get to. And we start with a story that a lot of people are going to respond to, which is, wait, I thought that already happened.
So we did talk about this last week in a really brief bit that, hey, with November 1st coming up, that this was probably going to happen. And it turns out another one of the things where we can just pay with the phone. Then again, anyone paying attention to this could have picked up the phone and called this.
We knew pretty much right after the Fox buyout that Disney's goal at the end of the day was to be a wholly owned Hulu.
Not necessarily. It was either to fully own Hulu under Iger or for him to fully divest it to another entity.
So it looks like they have chosen the latter, or the former instead of the latter. And Disney has agreed to take full control of Hulu in a deal with Comcast, which previously owned a third of the streamer ever since Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox back in the day. A securities filing confirmed that NBC Universal triggered this purchase earlier in the day. Quote, "We look forward to the appraisal process and the determination of Hulu's fair market value, which we expect will reflect the extraordinary value of the business," Comcast said in a statement. As per an agreement towards between the two companies, Hulu was set to get a fair market value assessment from independent experts, but the guaranteed minimum Hulu valuation of $27.5 billion means that Disney knew that it had enough it had to cough up at least $9 billion to do so. In the filing Wednesday, Disney said that it expects to pay $8.61 billion by December 1st, which meets the floor valuation, though it will go through the appraisal process to make the final determination of Hulu's value and how much, if any, the company will need to pay beyond that. So the numbers are pending, but this will happen. And at the end of the day, and the end of this transaction, there will be no other owner. This will no longer be a joint venture. Hulu will become a fully owned and operated subsidiary of Disney after this.
And
happens.
This then transitions into what has been speculating into 2024 of Disney Plus absolving both Hulu and ESPN into a single app.
Yeah, just move it all into one big thing. Makes sense at this point to do so. The question remains then, how long do we have until Hulu is no longer the vessel in which all network television follows? Do you think there is a deadline where that stops being the case?
Yes, there has to be, just because of everyone is now doing their own independent streaming thing.
Yeah.
And that means that, hey, DirecTV stream, Sling TV stream. Do I even mention Fubo in this conversation?
How dare you mention Fubo?
Become the or I guess let's just say the direct competitor then, YouTube TV, where their live streaming is divested across multiple channels, because Walt Disney even entertained that idea of live streaming TV to its competitors if it doesn't have to.
I mean, these are all great questions for Disney to figure out. And yeah, I really wonder where it's going to go.
Because I doubt they just reopen those doors and say, yeah, you can stream on us for a third of the price, because we're hemorrhaging money and we need other investors back into Hulu to make it something.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll ultimately see what happens, but it'll be a weird one.
But yeah, I mean, initial value of $27.5 billion. And they're just like, okay, we'll pay you $8 billion of the $9 billion. We'll see what the next $1 to $2 billion estimated value is.
You will find out. All right, let's move on into the second part of our news today, which is some bits. We gathered some TV bits here and there for you.
The bits.
We start with an announcement from CBS about the future of their late night programming, specifically who will take over the time slot previously reserved for James Corden's Late Late Show. We finally have an answer, and it combines a couple of stories that we've been talking about. We had previously heard that they were going to revive the At Midnight game show
format
from Comedy Central that they had let languish on the Viacom shelves for a few years. That is now official. That is what will be placed in that new time slot. And hosting it will be comedian Taylor Tomlinson, who you might know from her Netflix specials, Quarter Life Crisis and Look at You. She will be the host of the show, and will be called After Midnight, and will premiere early in 2024.
And it will premiere after midnight, mainly after the late show at 12:30, I believe.
Something like that.
Something around that time.
So are you familiar at all with Taylor Tomlinson before this announcement?
No, I would not really.
So in a weird cosmic sense of timing, my TikTok algorithm drove me to her last week before this announcement happened. And I started seeing clips of her stand-up, and I was like, this lady's funny. And then I watched both of her specials a few days ago. Loved it. She's great. Big fan now. And so then when this got announced, I was like, okay, weird timing, but all right. So I'm totally down. Do I wish that this was just a late night show and that she had been given the reins of an actual late night show? Yes. But of all the possible names that they could have attached to this game show format, I'm glad it's not somebody we hate. That's at least that's what I will say. It would be very easy for them to put somebody that is let's say a Chris Hardwick type in the show that Chris Hardwick used to host. It would be very easy for them to do that. They chose not to, and I bless them for it. So, but yeah, I fully recommend checking out her specials on Netflix. They're a good time.
And do note that this is now the second entity from Comedy Central that CBS has just decided to yoink from Viacom and say, hey, let's put this on CBS.
Yeah, they just keep doing it, just like reorganizing their properties in different formats and different networks.
Yep.
Because hey, why not? Let's move on to our next bit here. Dune prequel series, Dune: The Sisterhood, will be renamed Dune Prophecy and is expected to premiere in fall of 2024. And where is this landing?
This is on Max because
Max.
this is through
Warner.
not HBO, but
Warner.
Warner.
Yeah.
Because they're doing Dune, which was supposed to come out this week, but it's not. It's coming out in March now because of the strike, because they couldn't promote it. So essentially what was supposed to be a spring preview for this following Dune 2 is now going to be a fall preview or series following the spring film now. Everything got pushed back.
Yeah. So
I mean, they're going to invest money into Dune. They're trying to find their own like Dune Game of Thrones style universe because
why not?
It's pretty to look at, and why not? Political intrigue.
They got it, might as well use it.
Yep.
All right, next bit. The Matthew Perry Foundation has been set up. Its goal is to help those struggling with drug and alcohol abuse. Of course, this is in the wake of Matthew Perry's death, and it's cool to see his name associated with something that will benefit people who went through similar struggles or are going through similar struggles that Matthew Perry did. I think this is a good move.
Yeah. Posthumously attaching his name's being attached to this, but essentially it's to help prevent not just actors, but anybody who went through what he did.
I mean, I think that one of the things that was circulating around his death was that he had said multiple times that he didn't want his time on Friends to be his legacy. He didn't want that to define him. And so this is a perfect example of what to do when somebody says that. It's like, no, let's make something that does define you, which is hoping that nobody follows in his footsteps and doesn't endure the pain that he did. So I think this makes a lot of sense. This is good. I'm sure he would love it.
So. And with that, there's also a lot of articles now coming out and being written of actors, co-stars, not co-stars, but the guest actors who worked, and also all the writers who would come out and say like how he was always funny, different notes that he would give, different plot threads that were talked about and ultimately dropped because of him.
Right.
So those are all out there for you to read now.
Bits and pieces of his legacy right there. All right. And then lastly in the bits here, a new lawsuit alleges that HBO boss Casey Bloys ordered staff to create fake accounts to undermine and confront TV critics criticizing their shows.
This is currently ongoing. This was launched today. And very interesting that, IP addresses don't lie, especially when you can see where things are being sent from. And they're all being sent from the same IP address in the same building in the same location.
I mean, let's be real. I'm surprised that this has not shown up with more studios. I'm not shocked. Like, I would be shocked if this becomes an expose through the entire industry of inside people trying to fight against negative press like this.
I mean, we already see that with the Oscars and award season. But not surprising. I want to say this is more recently with HBO, especially being criticized, especially with Max rolling out new series constantly. But I would not be surprised if this went deeper than that.
Well, I bet. So we'll keep an eye on this one to see what happens with it.
Yep.
All right. Any other TV bits before we move on?
No, we'll get to the writers' strike or the actors' strike next up in movies.
Okay. And then any thoughts, any television that you watched this week that you want to talk about?
I did end up finishing Pluto on Netflix. Really well done. I did like that the story is told out of order, so you get more information the more you go, and it's like, oh, that means this and that means that, and you kind of put the pieces together
Mhm.
for it. It does ultimately end up to a big light beam robot on robot battle,
I mean, of
but
course,
of course,
it is an
I
anime.
it is an anime. It does deal with robotics, so was not surprised at that. But then also kind of rolled my eyes, like, oh, okay. I guess you didn't really know, but you didn't really want to go the psychological route eventually. So big
Yeah,
battle it is.
fair
Um,
enough.
and then still watching lessons in chemistry, and still
Right.
enjoying that. Doctors are really enjoying that.
Cool. Okay. I don't have anything new to talk about, but I will have something interesting, an interesting anecdote for next week, because tomorrow, Christy and I are going to do something that we've never done before. We are going to, roll please, a
Um,
live taping of Jeopardy. We'll be in the Jeopardy audience
what?
tomorrow.
You know you
Yes.
can't say out the answers.
No, we know. Obviously, we know. No, but we yeah, we got the free tickets for Jeopardy recording tomorrow. So we'll be going to Studio City and tuning in for an episode tomorrow.
Sitting in with the one and only Ken Jennings
Yes.
and guests.
And whoever dorks that they've got playing. So yeah, I'm looking
Hey,
forward to it. It
we'll
won't
be
be
one of
my
those dorks eventually.
yeah. I won't be my first studio audience. I have had two prior, but this will be the best one probably of the three
Yes.
that we've done. Done. Let's make a deal. Was that you and Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, oh,
And
that was Chris. We did
oh,
Price is Right.
okay. And then I haven't done Prices Right. I've done Let's Make a Deal.
Okay.
I've done, and then I did a taping of a TV Land sitcom.
That's the one we did.
That's the one I did with you. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah.
The X's.
Oh God, yeah. That the X's. You remember that one.
Yes.
More oh
Where
yeah, Wayne
I
Knight, the Wayne Knight vehicle, the
yes, where
X's.
I misread the title and said it was the execs.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Anyway, so yes, this will be better than those two, I'm sure.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll talk about that experience next week. But in the meantime, let's move on into some cancellations and renewals, shall we?
What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching Paramount Plus's Joe Pickett, as it has been canceled after 2 seasons. Meanwhile, the CW has brought down the hammer on Superman and Lois after its upcoming 4th season. So
It's
it will be
already
done after
shot.
that.
4th season. This upcoming one will just air the episodes. Part of CW's ending of all the superhero stuff.
Yes. Hulu has confirmed that the 12th season of Letterkenny will be its final season as well. Then we have one renewal, or two renewals here on Hulu. Hulu has said that they are going to renew Futurama for 2 more seasons, bringing it to a 14.
Both of
And
those will be 10 episodes. It's said
right,
to be 20 episode order in total, split across 2 seasons.
right. And then Hulu is also bringing back The Bear for a 3rd season. That will
Yes, chef.
premiere. Yes, that will premiere later next year, I believe they said.
Yes.
Yes, so
Love it. Want more of the bear.
everybody
Continues
does.
to be one of my top shows.
Everybody loves The Bear. All right, let's talk about one quick death this week. Bob Knight, age 83, a Hall of Fame basketball coach, coached the Indiana Hoosiers, Texas Tech Red Raiders, and the 1984 Olympic basketball team.
Fun fact, that 1984 Olympic basketball team was the last time amateur basketball
Right.
was being played. Because after that,
Yes.
they allowed professionals to be played. But that 1984 team did consist of one Michael Jordan and one Patrick Ewing. So
So
how
yeah,
amateur were they on the court? I
that's
don't
a
know.
good question. But yes, obviously a Hall of Fame coach, a storied coach. Yeah,
Red
definitely
sweaters, white hair, throwing chairs. Yep, that guy.
a name and legacy that will be remembered for sure.
Just ask Ron Swanson.
Exactly. Let's move on to the movies section, our last section of the show today, where we always start with the weekend box office numbers. This week's number one movie is a holdover from last week, Five Nights at Freddy's. which made another $19.4 million. That's sitting at $113.6 million domestic. For its last time in this chart, we have number 2, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, which I believe its limited engagement ended this past weekend, which is the reason why I say that. $13.5 million this week. That will likely wrap up with a $166 million domestic total. Not bad at all.
Yep, that is domestic, not including the international total.
Yes. Number 3, Killers of the Flower Moon with another $7 million. That's just at 52. I don't think that is bringing in the numbers that they hoped it would. Number 4, premiering this week, Priscilla with $5 million. I will have thoughts about this as Christy and I have tickets for our local art theater on Thursday. So I will talk about Priscilla next week. And then rounding out your top 5 is Radical with a $2.7 million debut.
$2.7.
That's it. That's all me.
That's a huge drop off.
Yeah.
So for international, on that Taylor Swift Eras Tour,
yeah,
65 million brings the worldwide total to $231 million.
On a budget of what? Like 20 million, probably.
Probably.
If that, like, I don't even know. Like, how cheap was that to make? I bet it was super cheap. But anyway, we have new releases.
That puts it at, well, currently the 13th highest rated film in terms of box office.
Wow, she couldn't have done better than that. Exactly where she wanted it, I'm sure. Yeah, she was a mastermind. She just makes these things happen. One new release this week. I don't know, of course, you know what it is. It's The Marvels, the MCU film that will bring Brie Larson's Captain Marvel back to the big screen, as well as Kamala Khan from the Miss Marvel television series. Yep. So,
and Teyonah Parris from WandaVision.
Yes.
As Spectre, I believe is the comic book name.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, so seems to be coming in a little lower than expectations. People are expecting around a $50 million debut for this.
I'm looking at a 160 to 180 global weekend.
Yeah. So probably put your expectations pretty low. That being said, I'm interested in this one. This is the first MCU movie I'm interested in a while because I really enjoyed the Ms. Marvel series on Disney Plus, and I would like to see what that character does next. And the premise of the Marvels is an interesting premise. And I like Brie Larson, so I might check this out maybe next week or something. But for now, that is out, and it is your only movie out in theaters this week.
I mean, if you like Brie Larson, you should be watching Lessons of Chemistry.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe. I don't know. Do that or watch 4 hours of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tonight? Questions. All right. Move on to movie news. I put the wrong thing up there. Give me a second here. Boop. Our first story is a familiar one. We've all been all about the labor this year. This has been hot labor 2023. And in this case, labor's story, both stories in film again, starting with Walt Disney Animation Studios announcing that the production workers have voted to unionize. Out of a total of 68 voters, 63 of them voted in favor, with 5 workers who voted against. If neither of the parties files an objection to the result in 5 days, they will be certified, and labor and management can begin bargaining a first contract. Animation Guild organizer Allison Smart said, quote, as the first production workers at a feature animation studio to unionize with TAG, the production workers at Disney are a shining example of tremendous teamwork, patience, fortitude, and courage in the face of the company's delay tactics. End quote. The workers first announced their intent to unionize back in March, stating that Disney had denied their request to voluntarily recognize the group. The bargaining unit of production workers at Disney is just the latest for the Animation Guild. The union has been recently making inroads with these workers at various brands, including Nickelodeon, Shadow Machine, Titmouse New York, and Titmouse Los Angeles. But Disney is probably the biggest fish in that pond, so to get the Disney animators to sign out, that's a win.
Yep, that's a huge domino to fall, so don't be surprised if other animated studios in and around the area.
Looking at you, Sony. Looking at you, Sony. We got to have that third Spider-Man.
Yep. Looking at you, DreamWorks. Looking at you, DreamWorks. Got to have that 6th Kung Fu Panda.
No one is saying that. No one is saying this except for you.
Jack Black is saying that. He needs that Kung Fu Panda money.
Jack Black doesn't need any money. I think he's doing okay. Anyway, so yeah, this is a good story. It's heartening to know such a big storied animation studio is jumping on the union train. It's about time. They've had an interesting relationship with labor over the years. You can
only took 100 animated films to get there.
You can always put up those pictures of when the animators went on strike back in the day in the 40s. I forget when it was, and how Walt Disney was so anti-union, he was pissed off about it. So yeah, that's definitely a way to make him roll around in his grave a few times.
You mean his ice chamber?
I knew you were going to do the freezing joke.
Yes.
It's too easy. It's low-hanging fruit. Speaking of low-hanging fruit, the AMPTP think that their fruit is too sweet. SAG-AFTRA doesn't agree. The negotiations have continued, but it looks like that the AMPTP is offering, quote, their final offer this week, saying that the current offer is the best that it can do and it will not negotiate further. We saw a similar tactic in the writer's strike and it failed as well. So don't think that they actually have any momentum here. The offer includes a success bonus for streaming shows, increases in the minimum rates, and some, editor's note, protections against artificial intelligence.
That was actually dropped like a couple hours ago that the AMPP has conceded on some artificial intelligence. Not all.
Yeah, but not all. But the thing is I don't think they're going to accept any terms that aren't all at this point, and nor should they. Anyway, the negotiation communities spent nearly 12 hours on Sunday crafting its response. In a message to members Monday afternoon, the union said it was working to end their strike responsibly, but said that the two sides still have differences. Quote, there are several essential items on which we still do not have an agreement, including AI. We will keep you informed as events unfold. Meanwhile, the union continued to hit the picket lines on Monday in New York and Los Angeles. SAG-AFTRA has scheduled regular picketing through Thursday of this week, with a planned off day on Friday for the Veterans Day holiday. So striking will continue, picketing will continue until negotiations complete. And I don't think that this will be the studio's final offer. They will have to meet the union at some point.
Well, yeah, no, it can still be the studio's final offer.
Yeah.
That just means that they will accept the SAG-AFTRA offer.
You would hope that they will, because yes, this is getting a little long in the tooth at this point. Hopefully they can figure it out within maybe next week. We'll see.
Yep. And as we talked about last week, if this continues for another week into the 14th and 15th, then huge shuffling will have to be made for the 2024 film year.
Every day I'm shuffling, but I don't know if every day the studios are ready for that much shuffling. They need to call LMFAO.
Old white men. They cannot be shuffling for that much longer.
Call LMFAO and do shuffles training, and maybe they can figure it out. That's it for movie news. Do we have any movie thoughts this week?
No, but it is the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, so
movies are happening.
Movies are happening. Holiday films are happening. Both Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and Charlie Brown's specials are happening. So that's kind of what I'm watching.
Yeah. No, it's same year. It's been a lot of catch up. We almost watched the Hulu film Quiz Lady.
I keep getting bombarded for that.
Yeah, we almost watched it because the premise seems interesting. Jason Schwartzman is in that.
Will Ferrell's in it. So
Will Ferrell's in that. And Sandra Oh for some reason. It's got an interesting cast. It's got an interesting premise. We haven't pulled the trigger on it. Maybe that's something we'll watch during birthday dinner tomorrow for Christy. I don't know. We'll see. But maybe I'll talk about that and Priscilla next week. Maybe I'll get a double dose of movies from me.
And
We'll
I
see.
did follow through on last week's promise. I did watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Of course you did. But we've talked to death about that movie, so we don't
And
need
we
to
will talk about that movie more at the end of the year.
Wait until the end of the year for that. But in the meantime, that I believe will do it for the movie section. And hey, I think that's it for the Media Boat podcast this week.
Yeah, it is. Let's wrap it up here.
Let's wrap it up. So thank you for joining us. If you want to see future episodes in video form, you can find us on YouTube. Search YouTube for Media Boat Podcast, and you'll find our channel. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications when new videos go up. We are also on audio services such as podcast, like any podcast service that you have, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Search Media Boat Podcast, and you'll find us there. You can also find us on social media networks such as Twitter/X, where we're at MediaBoatCast. Facebook, search MediaBoat Podcast there. Twitch.tv/MediaBoat is where you can find us playing video games. Are you still playing Spider-Man?
I am still playing Spider-Man. I am just not streaming it. I finally got to the Venom portion of it.
Ooh.
And there's a section there where you rampage across New York City as Venom. I was shocked to see that. I was happy to play as it, but now I am in the destruction wake of what I've done. So it's like, this is such a cool experience, but also now you've completely like shaken up the map that I've just gotten used to. So
oops.
Way to go, Insomniac. You really know how to like craft a memorable experience.
Well, there you go. So that is a work in progress, but maybe in the future we'll have more streaming on twitch.tv/MediaBoat. So check that out sometime. And then we're on MediaBoatPodcast.com if you want to see an archive of our old shows, as well as some write-ups, including my most recent write-up, which I believe was about Super Mario Brothers Wonder that went up last week.
Yep.
Then last but definitely not least, if you have questions, comments, feedback about the show, if you want us to read a question and answer it here on the show, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, that will be it. We will bid you adieu until next week. We'll have all sorts of stuff. Movie thoughts, game thoughts, television thoughts. Who knows what we'll have? News, hot off the presses.
We still continue to track SAG-AFTRA until a deal is made. So next week we'll have more news, more thoughts, and more of us.
So tune in then.
All right. Bye.
Bye.